Hi, I'm Michael Palmer, the host of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast, and we are celebrating National Bookkeeping Week in Canada. Our guest is Chris Constantineau, who is a cash flow advisor and CFO. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, this
How
is
are you
great.
today?
I'm wonderful. And, I'm excited as always about interviewing bookkeepers in our industry. And so you are joining us from Quebec City, which is great.
Yes.
And I'd love to know, how did you get into bookkeeping?
Oh, okay. How did I get into that's a bit of a long story, but I'll keep it short. Okay. So when I was young, I wanted to work I went to work for an international organization which is based in Ottawa. I work as a program assistant. I started as a HR assistant, then move on to be a program assistant, and then I moved to the accounting department, the finance department. And I really liked the numbers. So I decided I wanted to learn more. So I finished my bachelor's degree in accounting. I didn't do my CPA, however. What I did is I did a post-university degree in the corporate finance because I wanted to be a CFA. So finally I decided, okay, I'll just move on to something else. I wanted to be more general. So I did my MBA a few years later because I really like numbers. And during my career, I was like a program assistant. After that, I moved to another country, which is South Africa. I was managing all the financial aspect of a project in South Africa. When I came back to Ottawa, then I moved to Montreal, and I wanted to work with the big corps, for financing projects and stuff like that. So I went to move to one of the biggest fund managers in Canada, and I really dived into numbers. So for me, ratios is important. You have to understand your numbers. And that's why I'm a part-time CFO. I'm also like a part-time bookkeeper. I'm also a trainer, by the way. I train people how to read their numbers, make sure they do understand the impact of a decision on their books. So that's about my story. So I always been involved with numbers. So I really like it.
Amazing background and both education and also experience that I imagine your clients, they may not know, but they're blessed to have someone like you overseeing their finances and helping them make better decisions.
Actually, when I did my MBA, I said, "Why am I doing that for?" I had no idea what I would, because I was a banker, a commercial banker, because I worked for a big investment corporation. And I said, "Why do I need to do that?" So I finally understood many years later why it was important, because finance touched all the aspects of a company, which is human resources, marketing, sell price, everything. So it does touch everything. So for me, it was like, that's when I really understood that it was important to give advice to people. I was more comfortable having that background because it was more general. My clients really like me, so nobody's I would say everybody's happy. Everybody's especially during COVID time. COVID time was a rough time for them. So because I had this big background, and I had also like a commercial background for financing and stuff like that, so they really appreciated that. So
Absolutely. I can only imagine. When it comes to bookkeeping, I'd love to know what you've mentioned a little bit, but your favorite parts. You love numbers, but what else do you love about being a bookkeeper?
well, I like to. My clients are very small businesses. Most of them are startups, so they need a lot of. They need to talk to their bookkeeper, not necessarily to the CPA, because the CPA, the relationship is once a year when they do their T2s or when they do their T1s and stuff like that. They want to have somebody they can call and say, "Okay, Christian, I want to make this decision. Do you think it's a good one or a bad one? Do you have a checklist where I could check? Is it better to buy a car or to rent a car?" So I give them like tools for them to make very sound decision instead of just making the decision. So this is the kind of relationship I have with my clients. They're very close to me. When it's their birthday, I send them a birthday card. And when they have babies, I also send them gifts and stuff like that. So they're very close. We're a very close knit bookkeeping firm with the clients. And if I see a client, we don't have a fit between a client and my business or myself, then we let them know as soon as possible. And we try to find them another bookkeeper. So we don't leave them alone. So I do develop this kind of relationship with my clients, which is important for me. So it's not just numbers; it's more than numbers. So
Yeah, well, it's you're making a difference for them. You have a very personal relationship with them, which is very common in our industry. And the great bookkeepers love helping people and being connected with them. What do you think the toughest parts about being a bookkeeper have been for you?
okay, when I started, I was a commercial banker, and then I had to be a bookkeeper. So I had to go back 20 years in time and say, okay, this is what I used to do. That I work at the finance department in Ottawa for a big company. But I still had to learn a few things. And one of the things I said, and it's not because we're doing this podcast, but this is true, by the way. So one of the things I said, I want to have like an association or organization that will oversee and force me to make sure my knowledge is up to date with legislation and stuff like that. So what I did is I look at my offer and I say, okay, I'm going to do some bookkeeping. So now I got to find the best association in Canada that's going to provide bookkeeping. And then they're going to oblige me to have some training, hours of training and stuff like that. Because like I said, I'm not a CPA, so I am not obliged by my corporation to do it, but I want to do that. So that's time consuming. It's a lot of investment for myself. It was a lot of investment for myself. So that's the first thing I found, the CPB. Then there was another name. I can't remember the name. So
Institute
that
of
was the
Professional
first.
Bookkeepers.
Exactly. And the other thing also, what's a big part of the bookkeeping is the payroll. But sometimes with softwares, clients make mistakes and stuff like that. So you have to coach them. You have to make sure that you're on top of legislation. So so I decided, I was like, okay, where can I find that kind of information easily? So I became a member of the Canadian Payroll Association also. So that's at the beginning, but I had to learn a lot. So I had to invest in time myself in learning this stuff, because remember 20 years ago, before I started my business, 20 years before that, it was all knowledge that I knew, but the legislation changed, stuff like that changed. So I had to go back, just take time for myself, and decide if this is what I want, and if yes, then this is what I need to succeed. So, and after that, there was a time in my life, personal life. That's the professional side of it. So, and I really like doing bookkeeping, by the way. We do less than before. Okay. We do less because I used to have like lots of employees and stuff like that. And during COVID, it was difficult to manage and everything. And then one of the reasons also is during just before COVID, a few months before, I was diagnosed with cancer. And then I couldn't close my business because the government said, hey, you bookkeepers, you can't close. So I had to stay open. I had to go through my treatments. So it was kind of rock and roll, It was not an easy period, those 9 months, okay? It was a bit more than 9 months, about 10 months. So it was not an easy period. And my client needed me because it was COVID. So they need to restructure some of their stuff. So what we did is I said, okay, I'm going to keep the best clients. So we hiked the price just a little bit. So, and we saw like the ones that want to stay with us. And then we restructured the business during that time. We took the time that was like, okay, so the whole world's changing, so let's change our business also. So the business models changed a bit. So we now offer more CFO advisory services and also training services and cleanup books and stuff like that. So, which is more fun to do for me, okay? But we still do bookkeeping, like I said, on a smaller scale. So you've got to be prepared for everything. Like having a client is going to take a lot of your time. I always say my cancer was my bad client, So it took a lot of my time. It is important that when you start your business, make sure you cover all these bases and make sure everything is there in case you as the owner of your business, because you're the owner of your business, you covered for all your bases. So I had a great team, by the way, that really helped me go through that. So, and then, so that was kind of, so take time to learn, make sure you do provide the best service to your client. If you're not sure, don't do anything. That's not kosher. So make sure you feel comfortable and you've got the knowledge, and also have like, I also work with the CPA firms. So if there's something I don't know, then I always have a backup there. So that's the third thing. So make sure you've got the best relationship with the CPA firm. you're working with. So my clients, they come to me, they're startups, and most of the times they don't have a CPA firm. And I do recommend them, a few of them. I've got 5 in my basket, so I've got 5 to refer to them, and they choose whatever they want. So because we have clients Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Quebec City, also international organization, which they have like a subsidiary here in Canada. So I do work with international, just a few. I just have 2 clients that are international. So because they don't know the laws in Canada and stuff like that.
Right, right. Well, congratulations on all of that and going through. It's challenging to go through an illness like cancer, and let alone still come out and figure out your business and make that happen.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to do that. And
because I was also the owner of my firm, I could do anything I want. I could have dropped everything. I then don't care. Or I said, I'm just, I'm going to get the best people to come on board with me during that time, which I did. So it worked pretty well. Okay. So, but it's not everyone, but you have to think like if something happens to yourself, then because you're a small firm, so you've got to think about yourself. It could be being hacked by a virus or something on your computer. It could be also that. So I was prepared for that. So that was part of the first phase of my business. When I started my business, I said, I want like the best contingency plan. If I have this, I have this, I have this. So I'm very meticulous when I start a business. So I really wanted to make sure everything was working. So because you cannot expect your clients to continue without you if you're not there. So
That's right.
you need a contingency plan.
That's
So I
right.
had that. So
Nice, nice. Now, you've mentioned already a few, but I'm curious what you would say to new bookkeepers who are thinking about starting, either becoming bookkeepers or starting their own business. You've already mentioned have a great association where you can learn as much as you possibly can, which in Canada, where Canadian bookkeepers are blessed to have the CPB Canada. It's renowned, I think, around the world for people who know associations. And I know many people in the United States often say they wish they had such a great organization in that country that they could leverage. But what other tips would you say? You've mentioned contingency plan. You've also mentioned, being ready and, making sure you build the business that you want and have the clients that you want to have. But what other tips would you offer to new bookkeepers or people getting into business for themselves?
when I started, because I didn't know the cloud as much as I know it now, when I started, I wanted to learn like 2, 3 accounting softwares. Okay. So I started QuickBooks, Xero, then I knew Acomba, I knew also Sage. At the end of the day, if you want to be an expert in something, you cannot be an expert in 4 or 5 softwares. So the best advice I would say, just pick one software and then make sure you're the best star there. So you've got to you've got to know everything about the software, because when your client calls you, you don't want to tell the client, say, "Oh, I'm going to call you back because I got to find the solution for you." You've got to know it. So knowing 4 softwares, people can do it, but my head couldn't do it. So I would say just know one, and then make sure you're the best one at it, and also make sure you can automate the most as you can, using like text or using like reminders and stuff like that to help your client. So make sure you've got all this sorted out. And also what we did at the beginning, we did an onboarding document. We had like tax documentation. So yes, we always ask like 1 year of T2, and also like GST reports. We ask at least 2 or 3 quarters if they were quarterly based. So we did have a big onboarding checklist, and this onboarding checklist, I built it because I went to these conferences with CPB. So that was a great tool. And also, if you really want to scale faster, then you should take courses on bookkeeping. I know that I do have your book, by the way. So Successful Bookkeeper, the organization do provide training and stuff like that. So sometimes it's worth doing that. It's costly, but if you spread it over 10 years, it's nothing, so it's very easy the payback is fast. So, and then the more knowledge you have, then you can charge more. So, because you do have that knowledge. So your price instead of being a bookkeeper, I've seen bookkeepers at $40, but you can go up much higher than that. But you have to have a system in place. You've got to have these procedures, you've got to have a minimum things, and then don't change it. So just live with it for a year, and then when you do your strategic plan, maybe you're going to change a few things, but put as big as you want, and then maybe your client doesn't have the information. And also, I only do startups, so it was easy for me. So I didn't need like all these T2s, like previous year's T2s and the documentation from the previous bookkeeper, because there's none. So we do startups, but we don't take clients in an industry we do not know. For example, I work in manufacturing organization before, so I don't like manufacturing because I have to do like work in progress and stuff like that. So, and then I didn't want to do that. So I just crossed it. I said, okay, everybody that comes and asks me, can you help me with my business? It's manufacturing. I always say no right away. So, because I tried it, it's complicated. Because we're working like, away from, we're not on site necessarily. So we don't see all the work in progress. So when I see there's a risk, I just don't go there. So I just take it out of my list. So try to focus on what you're good at, not necessarily go all over the place. So
great tips. Absolutely love those tips. And now I want to ask about the future. What do you think the future is for bookkeeping?
There was a survey done. I can't remember. I could find it and send you the information, but there was a survey done many years ago, about 10 years ago, about the small business companies, where they're going with all the admin stuff, including accounting. What they want to do is learn more. So they want to learn more. So, and we've seen the trend with different softwares, automation and stuff like that. So, because one of the biggest mistake, because I had clients as a commercial banker that would come to me and ask me a loan of $25,000. I had to say no because they didn't know their numbers. So nowadays I can see the trend going, okay, I have to know my numbers. The bank is not going to lend me the money I need for my project. So the new businesses, because we have a lot of innovation hubs throughout Canada, so they learn a lot of information. So they want to do a lot, which is great because you can be more like a consultant to these clients instead of being a 100% bookkeeper. So you can diverse your revenue. So, and I could see the trend, I would say about over 10 years, 100% bookkeeping. Now we're at about 50-50 bookkeeping and then consulting and training and then CFO. So, and also what we do a lot of, when we refuse a client, we say, no, we don't have time to take care of your books. We do offer one thing. We say we can revise your books at the end of the month, be more like a controller, and you can charge more. So be more a controller. And then we use softwares to scan the client's documents. That's, I think we're going there. So having more like an advisor, a consultant, not necessarily a bookkeeping that's going to do all my books 100% of the time, except for big corporations where they need somebody internally. That's different. So you can be a bookkeeper, having 2-3 clients, it's fine. For big firms, that's okay also. But if you want a lot of little clients, then you need to diverse your revenues and stuff like that.
Very exciting future, I think, and definitely agree with you. Some really neat analogies that you've come up with in this interview. The importance of finance in the whole of the business is so important. And where we're going is to be able to make sure that owners are really aware of their own health, a 360-degree view of their health of their business, which is primarily the finance that drives the whole piece. And, with that, who better to serve that than bookkeepers who traditionally did compliance work, and, a lot of that is being automated and helped, but it's just getting them faster to the numbers that they need to bring to the owner, help them make better decisions. And that's exactly what you're doing and where you're going.
And also, if you do like more controlling type of work instead of 100% bookkeeping, you can find opportunities for training. You can find also opportunities for adding the CFO advisory type of service. Being a bookkeeper, you're just, you've got sorry, I still have one of those. And you go like your number cruncher, so, and you don't have this big image. So if you add some little add-ons to your offer, then you can become more valuable for your own clients. So, and then it brings on these clients are going to be satisfied, and they're going to talk to their friends. Oh, talk to Christian. You know, she's good at this, and then she's going to help you with your books. Okay.
It's always a pleasure to speak to a bookkeeper, let alone someone with so much experience and doing such great work in our communities. I want to thank you for being on the show and for your input.
Thank you so much.